pitches or the big names that is circulating in social media is Travis Head, and
He
no
has been a
prizes for
headache.
guessing why.
He has been a
For South Africa, it's been the knockouts that's been the trouble. Like
yeah.
they have been making these knockouts consistently. We talk about the South Africa women's cricket team, the under 19 side, the men's cricket side, where it's the semi-finals or the finals that has really been depressing for them,
Akshar Patel has been a very underrated player for India since the T20 World Cup. So I talk about
especially
these
in big
players, and I
matches.
think big matches he steps up. And I don't know why, but people talk about Virat Kohli's knock in the T20 World Cup final, but you cannot forget Akshar Patel's role as well out there. He was the
Yes. After 12 encounters in the Champions Trophy, we finally march into the semi-final stage, and India versus Australia, South Africa versus New Zealand, two big semi-finals in two different venues. I have a special guest alongside me to discuss on this topic, and I want to say you roles are reversed because I used to be the expert in his channel, and today it's a different one. But firstly, let me introduce to all of you. He is the protagonist of the Fifth Umpire, the social media network, a familiar
Thank you
face
so
over there,
much.
a cricket analyst, a content creator, as well as a cricket text commentator. It's time to welcome Pritam Dey for a lively discussion. Welcome,
Thank you
Pritam.
so much, Arijit. Thank you so much. Yes, as you rightly mentioned, roles reversed. And honestly, I was having a little bit of goosebumps when I generally used to do this introduction like you have been doing. But it's been a pleasure out here. I'm very much looking forward to the conversation. Like you said, four big heavyweights, 2015, four semi-finalists repeating. Everything is on the cards. The same semi-finalists that happened in the 2015 World Cup as well. India,
Yeah.
Australia out there. New Zealand, South Africa out there. I think the results will be something different. I expect this time around.
Okay, so you say the results will be different and it will not be Australia versus New Zealand in the finals. All right, with the time we'll say. But firstly, we'll deep dive into the first semi-final, and that is India versus Australia. And one of the big pitches or the big names that is circulating in social media is Travis Head, and
He
no
has been a
prizes for
headache.
guessing why.
He has been a headache for India in the last 2 years, to be honest. And since, especially going back to the 2023 World Cup, 19th of November, we cannot forget that day completely as Indian fans. And since then, he has been a headache, and he loves facing India. Whether it was the WTC final, whether it was the Border Gavaskar Trophy, a little bit of cameo he played in the T20 World Cup as well. But I think
Definitely.
sometimes what I expect is my father always used to say, after so many good knocks, there will always be a law of average. And that is what I expect to happen with
Definitely.
Travis said in this game. Different conditions, different game. And I think the men in blue led by Rohit Sharma will be well prepared. And I think that law of average is on the cards when it comes to headache. He's not going to give me a headache tomorrow. I think the others, there are quality players like Josh Inglis, Manas Labuschagne. We need to have strategies
Rightly
against
pointed
them, I
out.
feel.
Yeah, that's a very important point that you mentioned, Pritam. I think, yeah, no one's talking much about Josh Inglis or Manas Labuschagne. If we talk about the 2023 World Cup, Manas was one of those. He played an underdog innings over there, isn't it? Just he was very observative at the start, and
Absolutely.
after that he catched on and gave the freedom to Travis Head because he was holding up one end. And talk about Josh Inglis, how good has he been? Starting off with a century against England, always a very good player. Played for the Perth Scorchers, played some phenomenal innings, although it was a T20 format and now it's different. It's ODI format. But yeah, who do you think there should be the X factor for Australia? Like if they have to win this game?
Like you mentioned, I think both the wicket-keeper batters. I think Josh Inglis has to be there, but with India focusing on at least four spinners in this team, I think that the reverse sweep, the sweeps behind square is where I think Josh Inglis and especially Alex Carey is very capable of scoring. I think both the wicket-keeper batters will be an X factor, and in big games you can never rule out somebody like a Steve Smith, isn't it? So I think these three players in the batting department. I'll come to the bowling department as the show progresses, but I think for the batters, I think the two good players of spin, that is Alex Carey and Josh Inglis, according to me, for Australia, will be heavily X factor players.
So do you see India going on with four spinners? Like we did see what Varun Chakravarthy was capable of doing in the Dubai pitch, and with time, it's only going to get better for the spinners. Also, there we are likely to get a little bit of swing as well with the new ball. We did see Fazal Haq Farooqi get some, although it was not Dubai. But again, in the last game, we also saw a little bit of sea movement from Mohammad Shami. Under lights, it could be much better. So do you see only Mohammad Shami as the lone pacer, Hardik Pandya assisting him with the new ball and four spinners? Or do you see someone like any of them? I think maybe Kuldeep or Jadeja getting dropped. maybe bring in Harshit Rana or Arshdeep Singh.
Arshdeep Singh. I was very shocked since game one. I've constantly been saying, how on earth can you drop somebody like an Arshdeep Singh into the side? But I think
Yeah,
now when things are working out so well, and in the third game versus New Zealand, they experimented Varun Chakravarthy, turned out to be a blessing in disguise. If somebody picks a 5-1, there's no point dropping him. So I think, moreover, as per reports I've got, is that it's going to be a fresh pitch tomorrow. So it's going to be a fresh
all
surface
right.
that is going to be played in this game between India and Australia. So nobody has any clue of what is going to be taking place. It's not going to be used wicket. I think India are going to go with the same 11. I think why change something that is not broken? India will go. Harshid Rana has done nothing wrong to be dropped. It was an experiment that was done. He was rested, but now I think I was contemplating between whether it's going to be Harshid Rana or Shami, who got a blow in the shoulder, did not feel well, did
Yeah,
not bowl well in the second innings. Majority 9 wickets were picked by the spinners, so everything was done by the spinners. But I think if you have to choke the Aussies, that's to be spin. And somebody like a Varun Chakravarty's 10 overs will be crucial. Kuldeep Yadav, Akshar Patel has been a very underrated player for India since the T20 World Cup. So I talk about
especially
these
in big
players, and I think
matches.
big matches he steps up. And I don't know why, but people talk about Virat Kohli's knock in the 2020 World Cup final, but you cannot forget Akshar Patel's role as well out there. He was the
Definitely.
person that changed the momentum of the game. And then you have Virat Kohli, Hardik Pandya, and others playing those cameos. But I think Akshar Patel in big games, with the bat, with the ball, and also with the field, I think he's going to be huge. I think he's going to be an unchanged 11 for India.
Yeah, even I feel so. It should be an unchanged 11 for India. But talk about the batting lineup. We'll switch our attention to the batting. I think most importantly, Virat Kohli has fired. Shubman Gill has scored runs. Shreyas Iyer has scored runs. But someone at the top who is yet to score a run, but did score a run in the England series that was in the lead up to the Champions Trophy is Rohit Sharma, the captain himself. So do you see him leading from the front in a big match like the semi-final? He loves Australia. He loves to bash
I was
Australia.
about to
And
come
I
there.
tell you
I
what,
was about to come
the
there. That
Australian Pacers, they are a little bit depleted. Do you see? What do you reckon?
100%. I was just about to come there because when you were on your way of the question, I was preparing my answer. Rohit Sharma, Aussies, always love. Last two ICC events, be it the T20 World Cup where he slog swept Mitchell Stark out of the park. World Cup final, he gave that blistering start, and then Travis Head took that blinder of catch. But I think Rohit is due runs, as you rightly said, just 76 runs so far for Rohit Sharma in the 3 games. He's giving those blistering start. I think he threw away his wicket in the previous game against the Kiwis. He is due runs, and I expect him to go all guns blazing. He will not change his approach by any means. Spencer Johnson, Dwashers are the two new ball bowlers. Expecting Johnson to go bang bang
Left
with
arm
some
paces.
a little bit of short balls as well. So a little couple of balls might just go out of the park, go over deep square legs. So I won't be surprised it happens, but I'm expecting Rohit Sharma 50 plus.
Yeah, 50 plus. And with the approach he's going, I think the approach that he has, like since the 2023 World Cup, Rohit Sharma is going gung ho approach that he has opted. And maybe 50 plus in some
Absolutely.
30 odd balls and give the momentum to India. But again, it won't be easy
Yeah,
because there are two
his
left arm
role is
paces.
pretty much to bat for the first 15 overs, and that's it. And he
Yeah.
has been so fearless, he doesn't see personal milestone anymore. Just like Hardik Pandya was, he almost spoiled Virat Kohli's 100 in the Pakistan game. But yes, I think these players are now fearless, but they will not look into personal milestone. But what I'm a little bit concerned, I was in the previous game when India were 30 for 3. I expected KL Rahul to come at number 5. I think at number 6 is a bit misutilized, but as far as long as Akshar Patel is scoring runs, that's okay. But I still feel it's a big game. He has to prove himself because he knows what has happened the last time he faced Australia in one day international ICC event. So he needs to perform better. He's going to do that, especially with KL Rahul, the wicket keeper, had a horrible time versus New Zealand. I think KL Rahul has to be at number 5.
Yeah, KL Rahul also did show some glimpses of batting, I think, earlier on in the Champions Trophy. I think he scored some 40 odd 40 odd runs, or maybe he was not out. But yeah, that's a debate that'll continue, isn't it? Akshay Patel, okay, Rahul at number five. But as long as the things are working out for in favor of India, I think no one can point any fingers. All right, so we'll quickly move to our second semi-final as well. That is South Africa versus New Zealand. Uh, it can be a deja vu experience from the 2015 semi-final, the World Cup semi-final. What are your thoughts, Pritam? I really want to know.
According to the conditions, where Lahore is a belter of a surface, where Pakistan's all pitches have been a road kind of a pitch, so I think it's going to be a high scoring
Highway.
game. I think like you said, highway. I think it's going to be a high scoring game, and both the teams have the firepower. New Zealand played a couple of games. Them came to Dubai to face India, but they know the conditions well. South Africa are playing some good cricket. But my only concern, a little bit here and there, is Lungi Ngidi being unfit. And the last time uh, Temba Bavuma came back into the side, a knockout game was in the 2023 semi-final at the Eden Gardens, where South Africa faced Australia. He forced himself into the 11, and then South Africa lost that game. So I think he's going to come back to the side. But what about Aiden Makram? He led the side so well. Henry Klassen is back in form. He was searching for runs in this SAT20. He was not getting a single run, as you all know. As you rightly
Yeah.
mentioned, this is going to be a great game. I expect a high scoring one. The team that chases is going to be a little bit advantage.
All right, so the team that chases is likely to win, says Pritham. I'd like to mention about the bowling attack that you mentioned. Lungi Ngiri has not been at his best, but there's Marco Janssen, there's Kagiso Rabada, who is really doing decent. But like, in what can you expect in the Lahore pitches, isn't it? From a
Exactly.
if you're a
It's
fast
just, it's
bowler.
just that the first power play is what the seamers will have on offer. There's no reverse swing. There's hardly any spin. But it's all just that you will try to squeeze the runs as much as you can in the middle overs. You have Keshav Maharaj from one end. You have Aiden Markram. I would like to see if probably if they can take a risk and go for Tabrez Shamsi in place of Vian Mulder. Will they do that? Because on the other hand, you have very clever New Zealand captain who's going to roll him arm over, quietly bowl a spell of 10 overs, less than 30 runs, and get a couple of wickets. Maybe if not, Michael Bracewell has been doing so well with the ball. They have Glenn Phillips, flying Phillips. He's flying all around the ground and taking blinder of catches. Then you have Rachid Ravindra, who is adding another spin option into the side. So New Zealand have their bases covered. I think this middle overs is going to be where the game will be decided.
Yeah, I think that's a very important point that you mentioned about flying Phillips and talk about flying Phillips and fielding. I think these are the two best fielding sides, New Zealand and South Africa. I mean, yeah, obviously there are a few South Africans playing in the New Zealand side, like Glenn Phillips, as you mentioned. Obviously, he'll be against his own country, where he was born. But yeah, two of the best fielding sides, Pritham. Like if there was a fielding competition, a contest, maybe David Miller at one end, maybe Aiden Markram at one end. The catch that I think Lungi Ngiri took of Kagiso Rabada in the last game, unbelievable. And on the other hand, you've got Glenn Phillips, you've got Kane Williamson, and so on. The list continues. Even
Absolutely.
Devon Conway is someone who is in South Africa. So, is it the South Africans that are doing excellent in the fielding, or New Zealand? But Kane Williamson is superb.
Oh, super! What a catch that was. I need to highly rate Glenn Phillips one. Both Mohammad Rizwan's one was to his left, but Virat Kohli one's was to his right. Both were blinders, but Kane Williamson in that age taking that kind of a catch of Ravindra Jadeja's dismissal, I think that's going to be spoken highly about. It's not getting as recognition as it deserves. So both the teams have terrific fielders, and I'm expecting both the teams to save at least 15-20 runs with their fielding. Outfielders wonderful. David Miller is there. Temba Bavuma himself is a wonderful fielder. Aiden Makram. So many good fielders in both the sides. New Zealand, you always expect them to dive. Even the seamers are diving. With that, the previous game I saw William Aroke putting his body on the line. You have Jamieson putting his body. Those tall, lanky pacers are giving their everything. Two of the best fielders. And I said this earlier as well. We say South Africa has a jaunty Rhodes corner at backward point. We now slowly need to think about Glenn Phillips in that zone.
Oh, that's a big drop, big statement. I mean, yeah, and I'll quickly switch attention to one particular cricketer who has really done well in ICC events for South Africa, and that is Rassie van der Dusen. He's into the mix. He's scoring runs. He scored a 50 in the last game against England. How do you see? Like, look, for South Africa, it's been the knockouts that's been the trouble. Like
Yeah.
they have been making these knockouts consistently. We talk about the South Africa women's cricket team, the under 19 side, the men's cricket side, but it's the semi-finals or the finals that has really been depressing for them. But someone like Rassie van der Dusen, who is a proven performer in the big events, do you see uh, do you see him come out and just shove that feeling, and South Africa make it into the finals?
It all depends on when does Rassi come on to bat, because there are
Because
very,
he'll be
very
spelling,
different.
facing the spinners.
Yeah,
Santner will be keeping tight.
that's
Most
where
likely.
most likely when he comes, if he comes after the 10th or 12th over, I think he's going to have a good time. But if he comes in around, maybe if South Africa 16 for 2 and he comes in against the new ball bowlers of William Aroke, Kyle Jemison, and Matt Henry, very underrated. But is that the little movement that those seamers will get? I think that's where he might just face trouble. But after that, once he come on to the spinners, though Mitchell Sand is someone who's going to vary his pace constantly, but I think that Rassi van der Dusen will love spending time in the middle. He's going to dictate the pace of the game as well, I think, because his strike rate matters in terms of how South Africa approach in the last 20 overs after 38th over. Because Markram and Rassi's contribution with the bat, including the strike rate, is what going to depend on how Henrik Klaasen, David Miller, and Rian Mulder, Marco Jansen, how they play in the remaining 20 overs. I think Rassi van der Dusen, as you rightly said, in the ICC games, he's already performing, and especially knockout games. I'm expecting highly. If it all depends on when he comes. If he comes before the 10th over, I think he's going to face some trouble. But after the 10th over, if he comes when Michael Bracewell and Santner are bowling, I think he's going to enjoy batting.
All right, so let's see how things unfold in the second semi-final. But like there are certain changes that I feel that both the teams might make. For example, you look at South Africa, the Temba Bavuma, the captain, was missing. Tristan Stubbs was opening, and for New Zealand, Devon Conway was missing. And so, if both of them are in, like who goes out? Like who makes way for them?
Kemba
What do you think?
Bavuma and Tony Gizosi come back into the side straight away. So I think there's no debate about that. It's Tristan Stubbs who's going to make way into the side. South Africa have a settled side. They're going to go with the same strong combination they went in the first game versus Afghanistan. No changes about that. But what about New Zealand? Conway or William had to be dropped because Rachin Ravindra smashed 100. So either of them had to be dropped. They've gone with the southpaw. They have dropped Devon Conway. They have shifted Ravindra up the order because they had to get in Darren Mitchell into the side. He's such a wonderful player of spin. Takes wonderful catches at first slip as well. I think Devon Conway continues to warm the bench. I think the others will pick themselves. Rachin
Yeah,
Ravindra,
talk
William.
about Will Young. Yeah, talk about Will Young. He has been such an unlucky cricketer for New Zealand. Like whenever there is a replacement, he comes in as a replacement. He shows what he's capable of. He scores runs, be it replacing Kane Williamson, be it replacing Conway or anyone in the top order. He just scores runs and then gets
Yep.
dropped. So that would be really unfair if he gets
No,
dropped
I
again.
don't think so. He's going to be dropped. I think he's going to continue playing. He scored the first 100 in the Champions Trophy 2025 as well in the opening day. I think that he's going to continue playing, opening alongside Ravindra. And so, in order to make the righty lefty combination, unfortunately, Devon Conway has to miss out, according to me.
All right, and talking about South Africa, like Pritam, you mentioned that Dizorzi and Bavuma was going to come in. So, but with the first match, it was Klaasen who was missing. So, if Dizorzi and Bavuma both comes in, like who do you think is going to make out? I think there'll be two
Unfortunately,
players.
yeah, it will be two players. So one of them is Temba Uma. I think, unfortunately, Rian Mulder might just make way. Otherwise, if not, I think that Tony De Zossi has to remain in the bench. I think only Temba Uma comes into the side for Tristan Stubbs.
All right, it's really going to be exciting to see. Like I'm really excited for both the semi-finals. I think I'm looking for a
I think at
cliffhanger,
Dubai it's going to
and
be a low scoring game, near about
it
250 to
could be.
275. But
Hmm.
at Lahore, I think it's going to be a 350 plus.
All right. Yeah, definitely. Like on the same page, mate. Now, before we just, as we reach to the fag end of the session, Pritham, final few questions, and that is one matchup each from for both the semifinals, like India versus Australia. One matchup or one like a batter versus bowler you are really looking forward to going forward for the South Africa versus New Zealand game as well.
Oh, okay. So for India, I'll go with Adam Zampa versus Virat Kohli. I think leg spin and Virat Kohli has a different love story. So I'm going to go for Adam Zampa
Off
versus
late.
Virat Kohli. I'm going to go for a little bit of Varun Chakravarthy versus Travis Head if he lasts till the power play. I think if he gets knocked over before that, that's different story. Then it's going to be Shami who does that. But if he lasts till the power play,
Indian
I'm going to
fans
go
would be
for.
telling तुम्हारे मुंह में घी शक्कर.
I do. I hope it happens. But if he lasts till then, I think Varun Chakravarthy versus Travis Head, because it's going to be very difficult to pick Varun from his fingers. And I think Travis Head will not do that. He will continue going hammer and tongs. He's going to swing the bat hard. If it connects, it connects. If he gets a top edge, then he's gone. And for on the other end, I'm looking forward to this battle very, very much. That is Mitchell Santner versus Henrik Klassen.
Okay, a spin basher. Henrik Klassen, and he comes against Mitchell Santner, who has been very tight, very accurate with the line and length, and with his variations. That is like I think that we need to mention. All
Pace
of a sudden, he's
variation.
bowling 95 kph, and again he's bowling 75. That's a 20 kilometer per
Exactly.
hour difference is bowling. So that's a different range altogether. All right. As we come to the Q end of the session, before
Uh-huh.
else I mentioned, and so yeah, the last thing, and that is predictions time. How can we not have predictions? Who are the teams that are going to the final? You reckon? And now, one thing I'd like to mention: keep out the biasness. As a neutral perspective, what do
I'll
you think?
definitely do that. I'll definitely do that. I'll keep out the biasness.
Yeah,
See, talks have been going around India getting an advantage of playing all the games in Dubai, but the way
yeah,
India is
truly.
playing, I think same approach, same answer would have been if you asked me before the 2023 final. The way India is playing, India should have won the final as well. Similarly, my answer will be the same. I'm going for a 60-40 in favor of India. I think they're just too hot to handle at the moment with the inexperienced side. But Australia and ICC even never ruled them out. That's a golden rule, to be honest. But I think if India bats first, they have an additional advantage. If they chase, that it's going to be a game tight. But I think India 60-40 in the first game.
60-40 with the first game, and for the second game, who do you see coming on top? South Africa or New Zealand?
Second game, I said in the beginning of the show, the team that chases is going to be favorites, but you cannot forget South Africa and chasing with a C letter word in the, next to the name. But I think that it's going to be tight, it's going to be high scoring. I'm going to go for South Africa 55-45. I'm expecting another India South Africa
India,
final.
South Africa. All right. And do you see a revenge time for South Africa, or a rev or
I'll
like
keep that
another
in
same
another
carbon
show.
copy?
I'll keep that for another show, but I think carbon copy cannot be said. They will always have their homework done if they make it to the finals against India. Both the results, both my predictions have to be right. Then only I can say about this. But I think South
True.
Africa will give tough competition, but only disadvantage they will have from a road, they're coming to a proper pitch in Dubai. So that's where I think they're going to get some difficulties where India will have an additional advantage.
All right, Pritam. It was lovely, lovely chatting with you. Always a
Thank you so
pleasure
much.
collaborating with you. And yeah, so everyone watching, make sure to subscribe the channel Cricket Reborn, because more such creating contents will be coming your way, and it's already going on as well. So yeah, ensure to hit the bell icon to miss no notifications. Follow us on Instagram, on LinkedIn if you want to, or because we do post some updates. And yeah, do not forget to follow Pritam as well. He's doing some amazing work for the fifth umpire, regular contents, consistency at his best.
Thank you so
And
much.
yeah, so thank you so much, and make sure to follow both of us.
Thank you so much.